Hello and welcome to our time here together. In the last video, I looked at Peter and John's experience of coming to the empty tomb. And today I want to look at Mary Magdalene's experience. She comes to the empty tomb. She calls the disciples, and John and Peter go in and they see the emptiness, although she doesn't actually step into the tomb. She just sees that the stone has been rolled away. When she goes into the tomb, she sees the linen cloth and she sees two angels. And they ask her, why is she so distressed? And then she steps out of the tomb. She sees somebody that she thinks is the gardener, and she asks, where have they taken her Lord? And when he answers by calling her name, Mary, she recognizes that it's Jesus. I've been spending some time reading The Interior Castle by Teresa of Avila, and she talks about there being 7 mansions in the Castle of the Soul. And she talks about the 5th and 6th mansions as really being places where you have visions of Jesus, or you hear the voices of angels, or you have particular moments of ecstasy where you feel incredibly close to Jesus. But she says when you get to the 7th mansion, you realize that all of this is actually just a way for you to come to understand that God is in all things, in all ways, at all times. And as she so eloquently puts it, God is amongst the pots and the pans. In other words, God is with us in the everyday. God is not just with us in moments where we see a vision of Christ or we hear angels. In fact, she suggests that these things are just fleeting and transitory, and only some people need to have them. But where we all need to come to is the place of understanding that God is with us in our daily lives amongst the pots and the pans. So why does Mary have this vision of Jesus and the angels and the disciples don't? It is very tempting for us to grade things. It is tempting for us to think that one person has a deeper spirituality than another person, and therefore they see angels and other people don't. I believe that what Teresa is trying to help us to see in her book, The Interior Castle, is that God gives each one of us what we most need in our spiritual journey. For some people, that is to be able to see angels. But for other people, they are able to come to an understanding of God at work without seeing angels or hearing Jesus' voice. So the important thing here is not that one is better than the other. It's not that one stage of the interior castle is necessarily better than the other. It's that God gives us what each one of us most need in order to be able to draw closer to God. Of course, the closer you come to God, particularly what she will call the stages 4, 5, and 6 of the interior castle, will also come with more challenges. You will often not be understood by the people around you as you talk about these visions and voices, which was very much Teresa's experience. So when we think about Mary and we think about John and Peter, the invitation here is that for some of us, what we need to see is the empty tomb. That's what helps us to see God is at work. But for other people like Mary, she needed that encounter with the angels. She needed to hear Jesus. And that is what enabled her to turn the corner and see that God was at work and doing something new. And not everything had been lost with the death of Jesus. So as you continue in your own spiritual journey, celebrate with those who are able to see Jesus, who hear voices, but know that where each one of us is being taken by God is ultimately to the place where we understand that God is amongst the pots and pans. God is in the ordinary. God is in the everyday. To that place where we can so live in union with God that in all we do, as Brother Lawrence says in his book, to pray always in all ways, we can live at all times, through all things, in all ways, with an awareness of the presence of God. Amen.